Welcome to class 8 of Brick School's core theory classes. And this one, we're going to be talking about classes and BEM naming. Now, this may seem quite simplistic, but you got to remember a lot of people are new to this builder. They've come from places where classes get called things like styles and blah, blah. So I figure let's spend a minute and address it, all right? So here we are. We have just a very simple block icon heading and basic text. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that, Control Shift and D to copy it a few times. Now, let's say you wanted this heading here to be, I don't know, let's say you want it blue. All right. And throughout your whole site, you want your headings blue, or at least these type of headings you want blue. And you could do this and just, then come here to the next one and select blue, and, then that's styling at the ID level, which is the lowest specificity, okay? So that means that would override anything else that you have above it. If you didn't want to style this at the ID level and you knew it was all your headings, you could go in and in your theme styles, set your color, all headings, and set it to blue. All your headings become blue, all right? However, that doesn't give you a whole lot of control. That's just all your headings. And the truth of the matter is you use headings in different ways, and the likelihood that you would have one color for all and nothing would change, that's unlikely. So that's where classes come in. Whereas this is a global style, we're going to give it a class, and a class is nothing more than a name for a set of styles that you give to anything. So in this case, we're going to call this a name. So I tell you what, for our heading here, let me just get out of here. So for our heading here, let's go ahead and give this a class name of, heading dash example. Okay, so you can see you can use a dash. You can also, by the way, use an underscore. You can use double underscores. You can do these kind of things. But for right now, let's just call this heading dash example. Now we have a class, and we could style that class. So let's say we're going to give it, say a bold, and we'll say uppercase. All right. Now we've got two styles that are inside of that class. So now if I have, if I select this and I want to apply that class, it automatically gets those two styles. So should I want to do something like, giving these a padding of, say, space S, we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll do a space M on the side, and we'll change the background to a color, and let's just say we make that. You see how, despite the fact that there's multiple style assets in there, it goes across all of them. And to be very honest, there is zero difference. This is just a graphic interface to show you, but I can go in here and write my own CSS for this for this class, and I can say, okay, well, I want the color to be, we'll go var primary, and again, this site has Brick Styler framework installed. And text dash transform uppercase. I sure wish that Bricks would get the better CSS editor, kind of like, Advanced Themer has or something like that. This one's not great for hand coding. But do you understand how all the classes is taking this little bit of style and saying, okay, whenever you see that class, give it this style. And specificity only means that, okay, you have it on your style. But if I go in and I select just this one and I don't select this, so I'm selecting the ID level, which is the lowest specificity, meaning the most, it actually, I guess you say, is the highest specificity. It is the most specific. So I can actually override the class by saying, oh, you know what? On this one here, let's make this dark. And it overrides the class, okay? So that's all the classes are. Nothing very exciting. It's just a group of styles that you've given a name to. Okay, so BEM naming. What is it and why do we bother with it? Long story short, BEM stands for block, element, and modifier. And here we can see exactly what we're talking about, all right? So in this, let's say we're making a card. It could be an employee's card, whatever. So this first part is the wrapper, okay? And that is your employee's wrapper. The next thing we're going to have is an avatar. And then we will have name. And then let's have this called info, okay? So this is just a simple employee card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this employee. So that's the block is employee. And then our element, which is the wrapper. Now you see I did double underscore. That is simply to keep it visually easier to read, okay? So usually you'll do your block, double underscore, the element name. So in this case, we have employee, double underscore, wrapper. And just to save time, I will go ahead and copy that. And for our avatar, we're going to do avatar. So you see I'm just naming these classes, and I missed the wrapper. Okay, I'm just naming these things basically the block name, which is the B, and then double underscore, then the E. What element is it? Okay, and for this one here, I actually still had that example, and we'll go name. And lastly, we will stick this in and go info. There we go. We have basically done the B and the E part. And so now we have this as the employee wrapper. Now, typically what I would do is I would actually work a little backwards and call this employees. Oh, see, I capitalized there. I would call this employees as it's the plural of the singular card. So in other words, you have your employees, that's the wrapper, and then your employee, which is the individual item. That doesn't really have to be, but see how the naming makes sense so that somebody could wrap their head around it, or you come back 6 months later and you're going, well, what the hell did I call that wrapper again? All right. So that's all you have to do. And now you've got the BEM part in, all right? And let's go ahead and on this employees, make sure you click the class before you edit. On this, let's go ahead and make this a grid. And because I'm using Brick Styler, I can just go ahead and type in what I want. I want a grid 3. I want some space of M. And there we go. I've got that, and that's perfect. And on the wrapper, I tell you what, we will select this. We will go ahead and give it some padding. And actually, before I do this, I apologize. We're going to duplicate this card a few times, all right? So we'll do it 5 times. Who cares why? Now you got the card 5 times. Let's go ahead and give all those cards some wrapping. But first, let's go ahead and set a background color. And that'll allow us to actually see, what the hell it is we're doing. So now we've got this gray background to our card. We're going to go ahead and give it some padding. And we'll just link it all. And once again, we'll go space -M. And there you go. That gives it a padding of M all the way around on all of those classes. Cool, right? Now on this name, we want to have that blue color. Simple as that. because all the employee names are going to be blue. And there you go. They all change throughout all instances because we use the class name. Nothing too exciting here at this point. And let's go ahead and we'll uppercase them because that's also another thing to do. And that's the B and E part. But sometimes you're going to have a modifier, one that's different. So let's say out of all these employees, this first one here is the CEO, and you need a modifier of that employee name. You need one, the CEO has said, you know what? I demand that my color be pink. It's like, oh, all right, dude, whatever. So all I'm going to do is on this one, I'll change it to employee _name, pardon me. And I will put a dash. Sometimes people do 2 dashes. I personally don't like it. I do a single dash. And I would say, let's say dark, because you never want to use the color name inside of a class because colors could change. So we'll go ahead and call it employee name. Actually, one thing you could do is you could just say name CEO. All right. And we'll go ahead and save that. And now we have a modified version of the element. So the B, the block, which is the actual card, the E, the elements that make up the card, and now in this case, the M, the modified version that makes up the card. And in this case, maybe we just want to have a text transform. We don't need to have all the color or whatever. So I see that some of the icons have turned blue, and I think it's just a matter of Bricks acting a little silly. So yeah, I go ahead and I refresh it and that's gone. So, I'm still finding this with Bricks 2 point plus, whatever you want to call it. Still a few little issues like that one. Usually a refresh figures it out, but whatever, it is what it is. That's all you really need to know about the idea of classes and what BEM naming is. It's nothing all that detailed or all that tricky. It's just a bunch of styles kind of given a name and applied. And yet the naming with the BEM allows you to really understand where that class is and where it's used. Now, granted, in this scheme of things, you might think, well, of course, I could see where it is and what it does. However, what happens when you're trying to, pretend that you've got a ton of classes? Here I can look at my list and I go, oh, okay, so there's my employees. That's my wrapper, because it's plural employees. And here's my employee wrapper, singular wrapper, which is my card, the avatar, the name, the info. You get where I'm saying here. And it's easy. I can look down it. I can read it. I can see, oh, here's the modified one. Cool. And that's the idea of BEM, is that you can quickly come back 6 months later. You know what the class is for. You know what it does. And you can change it around. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.